There are certain federal judges that are the firewall protecting our democracy. They just are. They get a lot of the Trump cases. They sit in places like Florida. One in particular, Judge Williams, has ruled against the Trump administration on immigration and or the DeSantis immigration, doing the bidding of the Trump administration in Florida. Now, for the second time, we explored Judge Williams and how she has just been affirmed by the United States Supreme Court to strike down DeSantis / Trump's attempt to criminalize on state code, state law, criminalize illegal aliens or migrants in Florida. We already have a federal set of statutes for that. Can states also make things criminal that the federal government has completely regulated? Spoiler alert, no. But here's our analysis on Legal AF's Unprecedented with Dina Doll and me. Let's roll the clip. So Judge Williams, who's a very fine judge, federal judge down in Southern District of Florida, where I practice, she entered an order that found that DeSantis's harebrained idea that Florida could put on its state books a immigration, criminalizing immigrants. So if you're a migrant or an immigrant or undocumented, you came into the state, you could be charged with a crime and a felony. And they arrested 25 people. There's a big problem with that under constitutional analysis. When Congress regulates in an area, we call it preemption or ouster. On that subject matter, they oust the states, and the states can't regulate on top of it. It's the federal arena. It's their province to regulate immigration. They have a very, we may not like it, but they have a detailed code book about the Immigration and Naturalization Act and other laws that are related to that. And that is what governs the people coming in and out of the United States or being able to stay or not. You as a state, you don't have the right to say, yeah, they're doing that, but I'd like to do a little bit more or less. No. You can regulate in areas where the federal government hasn't spoken. Under the 10th Amendment, that's a power reserved to the state, But if the state decides they're going to regulate highway safety, they're going to regulate seatbelts and airbags, they're going to regulate fill in the blank, a state can't go, but in my state, you don't have to have an airbag or you don't have to have a seatbelt. That's called ouster or preemption. So she said, look, this is pretty easy. You can't create a state criminal code related to immigration because it violates the federal laws, and you're out. They didn't like it. They took the appeal up to the United States Supreme Court, and what happened?
So the Supreme Court declined to hear it, which was a win. It was a win for those who thought this was illegal. And in that case, not only did they appeal it to the Supreme Court, basically saying they had this argument called mirroring. The state just mirrored the federal immigration, so it shouldn't be struck down. It was a completely new concept that is not actually baked in law. And the second thing was they were again pointing to CASA, the nationwide injunction thing, saying that the district court, this was applied to the law enforcement in a way it shouldn't. It was too broad of an injunction, and the Supreme Court just didn't buy either of those arguments. This is an area that's also very clear. Texas has tried to do the same thing, right? SB 8, making it state crime to cross into Texas. As I mentioned, Arizona has done it before. This was at least a good ruling by the Supreme Court to kind of at least not throw away all of its jurisprudence and agree that, yes, in this case, federal law preempts. So at least a win there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know people get despondent, although I just had Sky Perryman on from Democracy Forward. She's coming back with me on Monday to talk about they just filed 3 new cases in the last 3 days. They're up to over 80 cases against the Trump administration.
That's great.
They just got a win today, which I'm sure the Trump administration will likely go after, which is an injunction to stop the women's violence department of the Department of Justice from being defunded effectively, or not allowing funds to go out to coalitions to stop abuse of women. And that they just obtained that victory. But, I asked her to brief our audience about why does it matter if all these cases are filed, but ultimately we get bad rulings at the Supreme Court. She says, because, we're winning in the numbers, because we're winning 90% of what's happening at the state court level, at the federal district court level, and at the appellate level. And sure, we're batting not 30% at the Supreme Court, but not every case makes its way, as we just talked about on this episode, makes its way to the United States Supreme Court. Most justice, the vast majority of justice in America, is done at the district court, trial court level, or the appellate level just above it, and not at the Supreme Court. I mean, they only take 60 to 70 cases at the Supreme Court. Even if you add in the emergency docket, just round it off to 100 cases. It's 100 cases out of thousands and thousands and thousands of cases that are filed every year in the federal court. So for every appeal that we talk about that Donald Trump may or may not win, there's an appeal that he hasn't taken, or that he's not going to take, or that he sees the writing on the wall, like he just gave up on $7 billion worth of education funding that he didn't, that he was holding back because he lost at the trial court level and was likely to lose at the appellate court level. So he'll try and overreach, as we know. That's his motto. But we got to continue to file these cases, talk about these cases, and put pressure on the Supreme Court justices, who some of which say they watch podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
To do the right thing. I mean, I often find myself talking directly to Roberts or any of them. Like, I just did one about birthright citizenship. Like, are you going to allow John Roberts? Are you going to allow, having already allowed a woman's right to choose to be ripped away from the Constitution? Is your obituary also going to say that you allowed birthright citizenship to be denied to babies born on U.S. soil? That's going to be your legacy? I mean, it was more of a personal challenge and a rhetorical question. I felt good saying it.
Yeah, and somebody like Roberts does care about his legacy, and sometimes, and the fact that Kavanaugh, he admitted to, yes, I watch the news, I listen to podcasts because I know that we rely on the public's support. I mean, this is why in a democracy it's so important to criticize, speak about, spread facts, spread information, because it seems like we're powerless over the Supreme Court, but they are very cognizant of public opinion because they don't have an enforcement mechanism. They want to take it, but they can't take it too far. And the more that we're kind of outraged about it, the more it does rein them in. Even if it doesn't happen as much or as quickly, it does make an effect.
I think that's a fantastic point and a perfect one to end on. Really, we've reached the end of this episode of Unprecedented. We're back on our regular, schedule. Even the summer's winding down here with Dina Doll and Michael Popok. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button. As I've been joking recently, if we just got a fraction of our viewership to hit the subscribe button, we'd sort of be done. I wouldn't have to ask for it anymore. But right? I mean, we have like 220 million views of our work. I would take 1% of that at this point.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I got to add though real fast what Justice Sotomayor said, because I teased it and it's just a one-line thing. At her speech, she said, virtually all the justices are committed to following the ethics code. And I don't think that was a mistake.
Right. Virtually does not mean exactly one-to-one compliment. I wonder who she was talking. Well, we know. We know that Thomas has come out against that ethics code before publicly and all of that. So I love doing the show with you. Welcome back. We do about 10 videos every day at the intersection of law, politics, and the defense of our democracy right here on Legal AF MTN. The MTN is our badge of approval because we're with the Midas Touch Network. Hit the free subscribe button. That'll continue to bring the dozen or more of our contributors to you uninterrupted. I do the videos. Adam Klasfeld of All Rise News is here with us. Dina Doll, Sidney Blumenthal, and Sean Walentz, our resident historians. Shan Wu, former general counsel to an attorney general for the United States, does regular commentary. So does Dave Arenberg, Florida lawman. We've got court accountability action. We've got the civil action guys, which is Shant and Brian. We've got Asha and Renato on It's Complicated. We're trying to be your one-stop shopping for all things law and politics. We got Democracy Forward with their 80 cases with a playlist exclusive to Legal AF Come here, hit the subscribe button, vote for the content, keep us on the air. It's that simple. Till my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.